Where else do we start but with the delay to GTA 6? And I'll come on to that shortly in the video because it's now been pushed back by pretty much a year. However, there is major change happening in gaming right now, and it could end up costing you a lot more than you think. We're seeing for the first time ever, after 5 years of hardware out in the marketplace, prices are going up, not down. What on earth is going on? Whether you're thinking about buying a PS5 or upgrading to the PS5 Pro, if you're sitting on the fence right now, my advice to you is go bite that bullet and get yourself whatever you want. Time might be running out to get in just before the prices jump up. Nintendo set the bar with the reveal of the Switch 2 and the game price reveal of their launch title. Microsoft has just raised prices on Xbox consoles, accessories, and games, and it looks like Sony might be next, followed by the rest of the gaming industry. So if you have your eye on a PS5 base model or a PS5 Pro, even if you got your eye on a controller or gaming accessories, my advice is just go get them before the prices all increase. And the games don't look like they're dropping in price any further as well. Let's discuss this in more detail. Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. We have more gaming and PlayStation news, rumours and leaks to go over. As always, a huge shout out to the God of War and Uncharted channel members. And if you enjoyed today's video, please show your support and your appreciation by hitting that like button. So it's official, Grand Theft Auto 6 has been delayed. Originally expected to launch sometime in fall 2025, Rockstar Games have now confirmed that the highly anticipated title will instead be releasing on May 26, 2026 for PlayStation 5 and Xbox. Now, for a game as massive and culturally significant as GTA, delays are always going to spark conversation. Some of it will be understanding, some of it will be quite frustrating. But before we jump into conclusions, let's talk about what's really going on here and what this delay might mean for both the players and the gaming industry as a whole. Now, here's the official statement. Here's what Rockstar had to say in their announcement. Hi everyone, Grand Theft Auto 6 is now set to release on 26th of May 2026. We are very sorry that this is later than you expected. The interest and excitement surrounding a new Grand Theft Auto has been truly humbling for our team. We want to thank you for your support and your patience as we work to finish the game. With every game we have released, the goal has always been to try and exceed your expectations, and Grand Theft Auto 6 is no exception. We hope you understand that we need this extra time to deliver at the level of quality that you expect and deserve. We look forward to sharing more information with you soon. So it's a polite, professional statement, and it does say a lot even between the lines. Rockstar is asking for patience, but also setting expectations that the scale of what they're building simply demands more time. Delays in game development, especially for large open world titles like GTA, are not uncommon. In fact, we've seen delays become the norm rather than the exception in recent years, whether it's due to the sheer complexity of modern game design, unexpected technical issues, or challenging internal timelines. And with GTA 6, the stakes are especially high. This isn't just another sequel, it's the next major entry in a series that has consistently broken records, redefined open world gaming, and shaped pop culture. Rockstar knows the expectations are enormous. They've set the bar very high for themselves with past titles like GTA 5, Red Dead Redemption 2, and of course the legacy of earlier Grand Theft Auto titles. So delivering something that can top all of that takes some significant time. What's also worth noting is that the gaming community, while obviously disappointed, has matured in how it views delays. There's a growing understanding that more time in development generally leads to better games, and a better game means a longer lasting experience that people can enjoy without the bugs and half-finished systems that often come with rushed releases. This delay also has ripple effects across the gaming industry. GTA 6 was supposed to be the main game, the main release of 2025. It would have been the big blockbuster title of the year, possibly even the generation. Pushing it to 2026 clears that runway for other publishers to move their big titles late into 2025, knowing that they won't have to compete directly with Rockstar. It also means 2026 will be an even more crowded and competitive year for AAA releases, especially if other studios were also aiming to hit that same window in May. For PlayStation and Xbox, it adds another layer to the conversation about the longevity of current-gen consoles. By 2026, the PS5 and the Xbox will be deep into their life cycle, 6 years in. Let's be real here, waiting isn't fun. The hype surrounding GTA 6 has been building for years now, and after Rockstar's first teaser and official trailer, anticipation went through the roof. But we've also seen what happens when games launch too early. Titles like Cyberpunk 2077 showed us the cost of rushing out a game before it's ready. Broken mechanics, unfinished features, and player backlash that can last for years. They were also delisted from the PlayStation Store due to the way that the game was released, completely broken on console. So if Rockstar is saying, we need more time to get this right, I think we'd all rather wait and get the game they intended to make, not a half-finished version that gets patched for months after release. In the months ahead, we can probably expect more updates, new trailers, and possibly deeper dives into gameplay and story. And Rockstar tends to stay tight-lipped until they're ready to show something concrete, but when they do, it usually makes waves across the gaming industry. Until then, all we can do is be patient and hope that the extra time in development really does lead to something special. It's not what most of us wanted to hear, but it is what it is. At least we have a release date now and can look forward to making arrangements when GTA 6 comes out in May 2026, like taking a month off work, pulling in a few sickies, and disappearing for a period of time to finish the game. So with that said, let's move on, because there is a shift happening in the gaming world right now, and it's one that could hit your pocket really hard. If you've been thinking about picking up a PS5 or a PS5 Pro, you might want to act sooner rather than later, and let me explain why. So recently Microsoft announced a significant price increase across its Xbox product line. This includes not just the consoles, but also accessories and even first-party games. Starting in the 2025 holiday season, major Xbox titles will retail for around $80 or £80, and the hardware itself is already seeing global price hikes. For example, the 2TB black Xbox Series X is now priced higher than the more powerful PS5 Pro, whilst the 1TB digital edition of the Xbox Series S is only slightly cheaper than Sony's full PS5 digital edition. So why the sudden jump in prices, people might be asking? Well, according to the official reports, and we can all make our own minds up whether this is true or not, but this is the official statements coming out from these big corporations. It all comes down to tariffs and manufacturing costs. Due to recent trade tensions, particularly involving Chinese imports, companies like Microsoft are now facing tariffs as high as 145%. And while Microsoft seems to be absorbing some of those costs, they still passed a good chunk of the burden onto its consumers. And according to MST financial analyst David Gibson, Sony might not be far behind. If they follow a similar pricing strategy, we could be looking at between $100 to $200 or pounds increase in the US and the UK and across Europe for the PS5 and the PS5 Pro as early as May of this month. Sony has been somewhat shielded at the moment from the immediate effects of these tariffs. They took smart steps ahead of time, like diversifying their supply chain and building up inventory across different regions and countries. But those reserves will not last forever. Once those stockpiles start running low, they'll likely face the same pricing pressure as Microsoft and other companies. And when that happens, you can expect a jump in PlayStation prices across the board globally. Sony has already raised PS5 prices in several regions, including parts of Europe and Japan. In fact, it's happened twice. The US is the one major market where prices have remained pretty steady so far, possibly because it's the only real region where Microsoft still actually stands up and puts up a bit of competition against the PlayStation. But that breathing room might not last for much longer. If you've been holding back, like I said, on the PS5 or upgrading to the Pro model, now is a good time to do it. Dive in, get yourself the better console right now. There's no signs that prices will drop anytime soon. In fact, everything is pointing to prices going up. Of course, the price surge isn't happening in a vacuum. We're also dealing with broader economic challenges, from inflation to supply chain disruptions, and they're affecting every part of the tech industry. Consoles are just one piece of the puzzle. The rising cost of games is another. And the idea of paying £80 in the UK for a single game can be discouraging, especially for casual gamers or those on a budget. And it raises a fair question. Is gaming still worth it at those prices? Should we just not bother about game ownership and rent via subscription services, or just wait a year and wait for those price drops to happen, because we know it's going to happen at some point? It's questions like these that many are either thinking about or asking themselves, especially as the hobby that we passionately love becomes more and more expensive and less accessible. But if you still enjoy playing games and want to get the best value for your money, right now the PS5 remains a strong option, or certainly as prices remain as they are. Compared to what Microsoft is offering at current prices, Sony's console still feels like a good deal. But that gap is closing fast. So as I've said, whether you're a new buyer or someone thinking about upgrading to the Pro, it might be wise not to wait much longer. The market is shifting, and once Sony adjusts its pricing to match rising costs and tariffs, that window of opportunity will close. And it's a strange world that we're living in. We're more than halfway through the current console generation, and instead of prices going down, we're now being told the PS5 and the PS5 Pro potentially are going up in price. Sure, we've had some phenomenal games over the last 5 years or so, but if we take a step back and really reflect on this generation, the bigger picture is pretty bleak. We've seen an alarming number of studio closures. We've seen broken, buggy, or downright poorly designed games released time and time again. Studio acquisitions have skyrocketed in cost, often leading to layoffs, cancelled projects, and games being shoved onto every single platform just to claw back development expenses. There have been countless mid-development cancellations, massive delays with no updated release windows, and high-profile hacks leading to early builds of games releasing online. Then there's the rinse and repeat trend, the endless loop of live service clones, uninspired sequels, and overwhelming flood of remakes and remasters. On top of that, prices have gone up across the board on hardware, software, and subscriptions, and now we're being told that even consoles are getting more expensive 5 years into the generation. Let me ask a fair question to you guys. Is this the worst console generation ever? Have a think about it. I'm not dismissing the great games we've had so far, because we have had some pretty decent games. The PS5 era has delivered some incredible experiences. Like every generation has, they've all delivered some good experiences, and there's still more to come. But when you look at all these issues, this is just scratching the surface. Where's the innovation in games? Where are the new IPs? Not everything has to be a big budget AAA title. I know we like that, we kind of want that, but they don't have to make these big, massive 100-hour games. But so many established studios seem to be stuck in a cycle of refreshing old content. The real creative risk seems to be coming from indie teams or newer and smaller studios willing to try something fresh. Take a look at Team Asobi and Astrobot, a team of just 60 to 65 developers that delivered a Game of the Year winner. Look at Sandfall Interactive more recently, a team of around 30 people behind Expedition 33, a serious contender for Game of the Year this year. I mean, there's countless examples of games. I can just think of two there, but there's lots of other examples of small teams making great games. Small teams can flourish when given the freedom to be creative. So why aren't the massive studios with all their funding and talent doing more to foster that kind of innovation? At the very least, these studios could support 2 to 3 small internal teams made up with up to 30 to 50 developers in each team, working on experimental new ideas and new IP. It would keep things fresh. Hell, it would keep the gaming industry fresh. Instead, we're just stuck. We seem to be seeing this endless spiral of sequel after sequel, remake after remake, and it's honestly, guys, I don't know if it's just me. It just feels like Groundhog Day. I'm not against sequels, don't get me wrong. I mean, Death Stranding 2 and Ghosts of Yotai make sense as follow-ups to young, promising franchises. Death Stranding has had one game, and Ghosts of Tsushima was the first game, and now we've got sequels to both of those franchises. But they're young franchises, and I get it. But when you're on to sequel number 4, 5, or 6, the gameplay barely evolves. It starts to feel like the same game over and over again, just reskinned and repackaged. Maybe it's just me. I do get it, big studios want to play it safe, but we've seen what small, passionate teams can accomplish when given a chance. And I don't want to sound like I'm just complaining for the sake of it. I love gaming, and it's one of my biggest passions, but I can't help feeling uneasy about the direction the gaming industry is headed towards. And I know we've had some brilliant releases in just the past few months, but how many of those games were remakes or remasters? And how many were brand new IPs? There's not many, right? Anyway, maybe I'll leave the rest of this for a live stream one day, but I just thought I'd vent my frustrations out. So let me know your thoughts in the comments and let's move on. Let's talk about something that's been bothering a lot of long-time PlayStation fans lately, and that's the slow fading of Sackboy, one of Sony's most recognizable characters from the early PS3 and PS4 days. For years, Sackboy, the charming, stitched-together mascot from the Little Big Planet series, was practically the face of PlayStation. He wasn't just in the games, he was on merchandise, he was used in marketing, and was one of the few characters that appealed to kids and adults alike. But lately, he seems to be disappearing from the spotlight. This became especially clear just recently during a screening for the upcoming Until Dawn movie, which is being produced under the PlayStation Productions banner. Before the film preview, a short intro video played that showed various PlayStation characters, kind of like the highlight reel of the brand's biggest icons. Viewers noticed that Sackboy was missing from that video. Characters like Nathan Drake from Uncharted and the duo Ratchet & Clank and even Astrobot were in that intro. But Sackboy, who was once featured prominently in that same intro, had been quietly removed. One user on social media pointed this out by posting comparison screenshots of the intro video from the Gran Turismo movie in 2023, where Sackboy was still included, versus the new version where he's gone. Their caption read, "I don't like this era of Sackboy erasure." That message seemed to strike a nerve with quite a few people. Others were saying things like, "They can't just put him out on the street like this," or "It's like seeing a family member getting cut out of the picture." And unfortunately, that's not the only sign that Sony might be moving on from Sackboy. In 2023, they pulled Little Big Planet 3 and all of its downloadable content from the PlayStation Store, removing access to what was once a huge part of the PlayStation ecosystem. That said, not everything Sackboy has touched is gone. Sackboy: A Big Adventure, which came out in 2020, is still available on the PlayStation Store, and it's actually a great game. Critics have called it a joyous explosion of colour and charm, but sadly it flew under the radar for many people. And now with Sackboy vanishing from the brand's core media content, it feels like Sony is quietly moving on. Astrobot is the new kid on the block as the new PlayStation mascot. I think it appeals to more people. I don't know, what do you think? Who would you rather prefer to have as a PlayStation mascot? Astrobot, Sackboy, or another PlayStation character? Let me know in the comments. And just a final note to add that Sony has just opened pre-orders for Ghosts of Yotai, and there are a few different editions of the game you can choose from, both digital and physical, depending on what kind of extras you're looking for. Of course, the prices will vary depending on what you're buying, but let me know in the comments if you're planning on pre-ordering the Ghosts of Yotai game, and let me know which version of the game you've pre-ordered. Okay guys, thank you for watching today. Let me know your thoughts and comments in the video, and I'll catch you on the next video.